Hello, everybody. Okay, I am so excited to do this live. I'm just going to take a little bit of time here for everybody to hop on in. Oh, I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this all day, going live with you guys. Yeah, all right. So I have a feeling that we are going to be here for a while. So when you guys do hop on in, I definitely encourage you guys to grab a tea, grab a coffee, grab a snack, and we'll get into it pretty soon. Okay, maybe I'll turn that around. Have a little sip of tea. Hello, Heather. Hi, Christina. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give the YouTube a moment here to let more people come on in. Hope you guys are all doing well. So excited to go live with you guys. In case you didn't know, when you were wondering, I'm a Pisces for a horoscope. Any other Pisces in here or water signs? Let me know. If there's any Scorpio or Cancer or Pisces, all of the signs are amazing. All of you are wonderful. But I have a little fascination with mugs. Hello from Northern UT. Is that Utah? Crystal, I think. Hello, hi. Oh my gosh, wow, there's so many of you. I thought maybe there'd be 10 people. Wow, that's so cool. I was listening to music, a notification popped up from Belgium. That's so cool. Oh, let's see what everybody is here. I have some Aquarius, Scorpio. Yes, I'm live, Sarah. It's 4 a.m. and I woke up, but will make myself a coffee. Good morning, girl or boy. I can't really tell, sorry. Oh, I think, yeah. Okay, hello. Wow, it is so early where you are. Oh my gosh, 4 a.m.? Somebody's a hard worker, good on ya. Hello from Australia. Thank you, hi. Oh my goodness. Wow, there is a lot of you guys here. That's amazing. We're just getting started, yeah. Awesome, from Canada. Oh, I love that. Love is the answer. 777. What a great name. Love is the answer. That is absolutely key. That is something we're going to be discussing today as well, how love is the answer for all things. I'm excited to get into this live Q&A with you all. As I was saying earlier, I have a feeling we're going to be here for a while. I've got a good list of questions here that we're going to talk about today. A few questions that I've already pulled from some of the comments and some of the posts, as well as some of the videos, as well as a few that I just thought would be really great for us to discuss. And the goal today is for you guys to get to know me a little bit better, for me to get to know you a little bit better, and for us to just connect. And my goal today really is to just share a lot more about some of the things that I've been through, my experiences, my whole journey up to this point, how I got to where I am, with all of the different gifts, all of the different things, all of the shadow work, just so you guys can also see that just somebody who's already been through the fire and kind of how that worked for me, and how it wasn't always a glamorous process. It was a hard process, but it's the best process. So I'm just really excited to let you guys know that you're not alone in your journey, and for us to get to know one another better. I know that I'm always doing the sharing the channelings and stuff, but I thought this would be fun and more interactive, where you guys can actually pop in and ask me some questions. As I was saying, I do have a list of questions here. I have about 12 of them, so we'll see if we get through those all. And then once we do get through those, I will be opening up the stage for anybody else to go ahead and ask any questions in the comments, and we'll be answering those live too. Okay, from Indiana, Texas. Yeah, tell me more. Where are you guys from? If you didn't know, I'm from Canada. Hello, England. Wow, this is the coolest thing, just knowing you guys are all around the world. You guys take a look at the comments here. This is your soul family. All of these people that are here are part of your soul family. We're everywhere. It's so cool. Poland, Virginia. Wow. Oh, I love that. Virginia too. Oh, so cool. Wisconsin, Philly, Scotland. That's so neat. Wow. Oh, you guys, it's so nice to get to know you guys a little bit better. Amazing. Let me know how you guys found me. Did you find me through YouTube, or did you find me through TikTok? I have a whole community growing over there as well, and a whole community growing over here. I know some of you are new, so I thought this was the right time to just actually introduce myself so you guys can get to know me a little bit better. And for me to get to know you guys better, because there's so many of you. And it would be so nice to just see who everybody is. From Australia, original Casablanca. Wow, YouTube algorithm, TikTok. Very cool. Australia. Wow. Hey, Londony. Both. That's awesome. If you guys are finding me and you follow me on both, like you guys are the original, like the OGs. That's amazing. That's so cool. Either way, wherever you found me from, that's amazing. Our tribe is growing. We're strong, we're healthy. This is amazing to just see. I think there's like, from the people who have really decided to kind of go all in on this whole process, there's like almost 34,000 of you or something, I think it was, when I was looking at the subscriber count and all of that kind of stuff. That's so cool. So many beautiful souls who are here doing such amazing work, God's work. I'm so blessed to get to talk with you all. From Spain, Australia. Annette said she feels someone holding me all the time. Our angels. Yes, you guys do definitely have angels. Many people on your team. Thank you for what you do. You're welcome. I love it. I feel blessed that I get to do this. It's like the best job in the world. It's just being me. It doesn't even feel like a job. I just get to hang out here with you guys and play and have fun and share all of the messages that I'm hearing. So it's the best. Started following me on TikTok last January. Wow, love is the answer. Damn, right from the start. That's amazing. In case you guys didn't know, I started my TikTok channel way back in January of last year, around the time when I was working on writing my book, The Missing Piece Is You. And that was still when I was really finding my voice and trying to find my footing. And then I didn't actually start officially channeling until about March of last year. So hasn't even been a full year yet of me officially channeling and showing up online. But I guess it's been a year of showing up online, but not quite a year of channeling yet. So that's really cool. Yeah. Thank you, Cody Gillespie. You have a beautiful energy too. All of you guys have such beautiful energies. All the energy that I'm feeling is not just mine, it's also yours. So mirrors of one another. Paid to exist. Yeah, seriously. Every day I feel incredibly blessed. And I'm so grateful to each and every one of you guys. So incredibly grateful. Maybe something I'll mention here right off the bat is like growing up for me, I was somebody who never really felt like my voice mattered. I knew I had important things to say, but I didn't think anybody really cared to listen. So this is so healing for me as well, and my inner child, just to show up and to have so many of you who are here and who are listening and who are finding value from the things that I'm hearing and sharing. That's amazing. Yeah. 2 children's books, Chrissy. That's amazing. That's so awesome. Okay. Would like to send you a co-branding collab. I am Renia's Tout. I apologize if I say your name incorrectly. If anybody would like to send any collaborations or anything like that, if you guys are interested, you can always go to my website, www.kianaggabriel.com. Let's see. Thank you for all the readings. You're welcome. I bake cookies, but carefully. Oh, you know. I was telling somebody else, oh man, one day when we get to actually gather together and meet in person, I think it would be like the funniest little inside joke. If you guys aren't sure what I'm talking about, there was a message that recently came through. I think it was literally yesterday when I was channeling for you guys. And I had put my cookies in the oven and I was so pumped and so excited to eat them. And then the timer went off and I was so deep in the channel and so excited to deliver and to share it with you guys that it was like totally out of sight, out of mind. Turned the timer off and then remembered halfway near the end of the video, the cookies are still there. So thankfully the cookies survived. They were fighting for their life in the oven. They're a little crispy, but a little milk or tea or coffee definitely makes them definitely edible. So they're still good, but I thought that would be funny. Maybe one day I would love to be able to meet in person with you guys one day and to speak with you and to share more, just like we are here, cozy, about the journey that I've been through, and to share live channel messages. I think that would be amazing. And to just be able to answer any of your guys' questions in person. And we should have like a cookies and tea station or something. Yeah, it's funny. It's like living both extremes of the whole, really intuitive, psychic, crazy realm, and then also like the superhuman realm of forgetting your cookies in the oven. But that's how I roll here. I love having just the two extremes of just being so human and also tapping into such divine energies. It feels like such a blessing. Yeah. Let's see. Nice to meet you, Midnight Sun. Oh, that's really sweet. Go East. That's so nice. That's lovely to know that I'm a role model to you guys. Just reading some of your guys' comments here. Can you share any more about your reading where you were in Egypt in another lifetime? Ooh, a reading where I was in Egypt in another lifetime? I don't think I've done a reading that I can remember where I was in Egypt another lifetime, but I have had another life in Egypt in my past. This is something I thought we could actually get into a little bit more, to talk just a bit more about all of the different types of healing modalities that I've done, because I have done many to try to help me get myself to where I am today. And one of the ways that I did do that was through past life regression hypnotherapy. That was actually the very first lifetime that I saw, other than this one, where it taught me some really amazing life lessons and gave me a lot more gratitude for the life that I'm currently living during a season of life that was very stressful and overwhelming. I guess we can talk about that right off the bat since you asked. So, gosh, when did that happen? 2023? 2023 or 2024, I think it was. And that was the first time. It's really funny how God pulls certain strings and the way that all of this has unfolded. This is a great question actually to ask, because it is such a part of the whole path for everything that has happened for me since. So before I get into that whole past life and a little bit of interesting information about like how I learned all of that, one of the things that I like to mention is there was a YouTuber, actually, I think her name's like Elizabeth April. I don't think I follow her anymore, but really early on in my journey, when I was going through some pretty intense spiritual awakening symptoms, I was learning all about that, between the years of like 2020, 2021 up to 2023. There was lots of different people that I was learning from. So very similar to you guys, finding different teachers were popping up in my field at that time. And this one specific woman was talking a lot about just a spiritual awakening. And as I was listening in, she had mentioned she had written a book. I can't remember what it was called. I think it's like You're Not Dying, You're Just Awakening or something like that. And anyway, I was really curious about this book. So I ended up buying it and I was reading it, and I thought it was great because it helped me just understand and validate some of the things that I was already experiencing. But one of the things that she mentioned in there was past life regression and how that was really healing for her. And when I read that, I became so curious to learn. I had always felt, I've known like deep down for a really long time that I'm a very ancient soul. It's not my first time here. Definitely it's super old, super ancient. You can always kind of tell who the really old souls are because often they go through some of the deepest, darkest trauma really early in life, and it can be really challenging. And I just had this very strong feeling. And when I read that part of her book, it just really planted that little seed within me. And from there, I ended up looking into it. And I actually found out that where I live, there was somebody who was doing them close by. And so I booked that. I went in with absolutely no expectations. And that was when I got to see that past life in Egypt. And it was a very intense experience for me, because it was not like it was a very, I'm not going to go into specifics because it's personal, but it was a very intense past life where there were things that happened that just really made me appreciate being here and being alive and being able to experience life again with some of the closest people. One thing I like to mention too that I've learned personally is that a lot of the closest people that are in your life, interesting that we're going in this direction, but I guess somebody needed to hear it. The people that are closest to in your life, regardless of if the experiences have been positive or have been negative, I've personally found you have often lived out different lifetimes with these people where they have been teaching you, sometimes karmically, sometimes lovingly, different lessons to help you evolve on your soul's journey. And so for me, that was during a time when I was extremely burned out, completely in survival mode, really in the thick of my healing, really just trying to piece myself back together and understand myself. And when I got to see that past life, it just gave me so much more appreciation for having another opportunity to be here again, which is so interesting because early on in that journey, I remember just feeling like, oh, it was tough. I know what it feels like to really, really, really be struggling and to be in a lot of darkness. And so it completely shifted my entire everything. That was when I really realized that I'm eternal, that I'm an eternal soul, that this is, again, as I said, not my first rodeo. And I started getting really into meditation and started learning that I have this ability to do all of these things myself. And then from there, things have just continued on. I had done more hypnotherapy. I've done more past life regressions, among many other different types of therapies that we can talk about later on. And that eventually led me to opening up my gifts, and then more of my gifts came online, and then a whole bunch of healing happened, and then eventually I got to where I am today. But it's just interesting how if that one, if I hadn't had that feeling to open YouTube one day, and then that person hadn't happened to be there, and then I hadn't happened to learn something from her, then got her book, and then it's like all of these little things. It's funny when you get to the other side of things and you look back, it's just incredible. It's crazy just to see how divinely guided and led you have been this entire time. Even when it feels like you are really alone, you are never ever alone. And that's one of the really big things actually I've been thinking about recently, is just how divinely timed absolutely everything truly is, and how grateful I am for the way that the divine leads all of us. Okay, that was a lot of talking, so I'm gonna read a little bit more. Yeah. Hello from Reno, Nevada. The domino effect. Yeah, exactly. The domino effect. When you channel, how do you keep the bad spirits from speaking over God? So I don't really, okay. So when we talk about bad spirits, to me, what that is it's the ego. It can be, different thoughts that your ego can come up with that can be negative. And for me, I don't really hear like negative spirit or anything like that. I only hear God. I only hear angels. In the past, of course, I've heard, my ego telling me different things, but thankfully I haven't really had too much of that experience where I've heard like negative spirits. Um but I guess what I would advise for you is just to make sure that you're always listening with your heart, and to learn to be able to have discernment and to really learn how to ground yourself. That's something that's really important. When I was really early on this journey, initially it would be very, very loud at times when I would be getting all of this communication. And so it was quite a process of learning how to ground my energy and open up the lower chakras so that it wouldn't get stuck all up here, all of this energy, but that it could flow. So hopefully that answers your question there. Yeah. Let's see. Do you need to ground yourself to block out uninvited energies? Yes, I would definitely work on grounding and coming back home to yourself, and just knowing that God doesn't shout. That's one thing to know. It's like a soft whisper. It's not something that causes urgency or rushing or fear or panic. Um, and yeah, it always to do this type of work, to work with energy, it's extremely important to learn how to ground yourself, just so that you don't feel just really overwhelmed. I remember there's been times early on in my journey where it would get so loud. I didn't know that's what it was. I thought it was just like ADHD or insomnia. I didn't realize that all the noise that I was hearing was actually a channeling ability. But later on, I started to realize it. and grounding is, yeah, it's essential. It's a must. Okay, so I'm going to take one more sip of my tea, and then I'm going to get into some of the questions I have written here, and then we can open up the stage a little later. Okay, so one of the first questions, I don't remember who this question was written by. Some of you guys, I do have your names attached, so I will mention like the username so you guys know that I'm answering your specific question. But one of the first questions is, have you ever experienced a dark night of the soul or an ego death? And what was it like? So yes, absolutely, absolutely. I have had many ego deaths and dark night of the soul. If you don't know what a ego death or dark night of the soul is it's essentially when there's this old identity that you've had, that you have built, that you've lived your life upon, where you realize that it's no longer sustainable, or it's not quite true, or it was hurting you, and rather than staying in that false self, that false identity, it begins to crumble down. And this can be frightening, it can be very overwhelming. It's tough, and it's usually like a dark night of the soul is when it's like you feel like you hit rock bottom. And I have been at rock bottom quite a few times. I do know what that feels like. One that I can talk about maybe would be, let's see, maybe regards to like my upbringing a little bit. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit. So for me, one of the like first really big ego deaths that I had, or identity dissolutions that I had, was regarding my relationship with my mom. Um, as a youth, I had carried a lot of anger towards my mom because of some of the things that I had experienced in my youth in regards to my father. I've mentioned this in my book, so I'm happy to share some of it with you guys. But really, what ended up happening was my parents both had grown up in homes with parents who hadn't really, well, first of all, they were young, my grandparents, and like quite young. And then my parents were very young. They were 19 when they had me. So they still were going through a lot of their own trauma, a lot of their own pains. And my dad hadn't really been taught how to have like, just hadn't been shown a lot of gentleness and emotional sensitivity or regulation. And so a lot of the things that happened to him were unconsciously, unfortunately, repeated to me. And a lot of it had to do with like silencing and just things like that. And so for me, when that would happen, it used to really hurt my feelings. And for a long time, I felt like, because I wouldn't visually see my mom step in those times to just kind of be on my side in those moments when I would try to speak up. I held a lot of resentment because I thought that she was never really like protecting me when I felt like I needed it. And that was really challenging. But after some time as an adult, I held on to this, this pain for like years, a really long time, like almost a decade. Things changed. One thing I'm going to mention too, because maybe this will help somebody, is I experienced so many different types of abuse like in the workforce for a long time after I became like as a teenager, and then as I became an adult. And I attributed incorrectly a lot of that abuse that had happened, like verbal, emotional abuse that had happened, to my parents, and especially to my mother at that time, for not standing up for me or showing me how to have a backbone. So I have quite a story. And now I've definitely realized like I went about all of that wrong. Rather than taking self accountability or trying to understand myself, the easier thing to do was to point fingers and to blame. And later on, as me and my mom talked, I found out that actually she had been standing up for me, but that it was behind closed doors, because she hadn't really, she came from like a single parent household, so she had never been taught how to work together as parents, as a team. And so she always wanted to appear as a united front, but I never knew that there was actually a lot of protection. It was just behind closed doors. So for me, when I found out that this was the case, it completely shattered this illusion and this frustration and anger that I had held towards my mom for years. And I remembered like after that happened, it just felt so strange. I felt like so much weight had been lifted off of my body. Actual physical pain that I had experienced in my back stopped stopped. Like it literally used to feel like my back was breaking. So if you ever have like really horrendous back pain, a lot of the time it's because you're carrying a lot of emotion. You women especially, but men too, carry a lot of emotion in the hips. And so for me, that was like a very somatic response that happened after I understood that, and I was able to crumble that old illusion, as well as the ego death for me was then believing that I just, was somebody who wouldn't be protected in that kind of way. And I realized that that was never the case. Um, and yeah, there's lots of things that are kind of jarbled into that whole experience from when I was younger, and the things that I experienced like on my dad's side had created a lot of ideas of myself and a lot of like emotional suppression and stuff. So there were many, 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 many ego deaths and things that I had to heal through to be able to actually figure out the true version of me that had been buried underneath so many layers. But yeah, anytime that you experience like a really big ego death or a dark night of the soul, often you can almost feel like it's coming, because it starts coming up. These wounds will start coming up to your subconscious, and you'll start thinking about them, and you don't know why you're thinking about them. I remembered when it came time, when spirit was like, okay, it's time for you to start healing these wounds, because these wounds were holding me back, were keeping me small. I had so much pain, was still literally like making me shrink and all of these kinds of things. When spirit was directing me in that it was time to start healing that, I remember just feeling so afraid of opening what to me felt like Pandora's box, because I know when you go back into that, it can feel really scary. It can feel like overwhelming, because a part of you almost remembers what it was like in those moments. And so sometimes I completely understand the feeling of like not wanting to open up the box and sort through things, but truly it is the path to inner freedom and inner liberation. And I'm so grateful that I have gone through all of these dark nights of the souls, all of these ego deaths, because it's helped me get closer and closer and closer each time to the truth of who I really am. Okay, let's see, number 2. So Shelly had asked this question. She said, do I ever feel energy at my third eye and crown? And if so, when does it happen for me? So yes, definitely. And not only like my third eye and my crown, this is considered crown too, but also like my ears. So this is one of the first signs I was really getting when my spiritual awakening was happening, is I would get like a lot of ringing in my ears. Sometimes now it almost sounds like wind that comes through, which is really interesting. Other times I would almost get like tingles. Like it almost feel like, it sounds kind of gross, but it would almost feel like something would be like, I don't know, like in your hair kind of thing. Or like I would get goosebumps as if somebody like blew down my neck kind of thing. What else? Headaches was a huge one for me. Oh my gosh. When I was starting to go on that journey of being woken up, holy cow, were the headaches ever brutal. Fun fact, I lived in a house that I'm pretty sure was quite haunted, and I didn't really realize it too much in the moment, but I'm quite sure that like this was around the time that my spiritual awakening was happening and some of these gifts were coming online. And I remember just having these horrendous headaches that would be all day long. And it was bad for a period of time. I was really having to like try to go between Advil and Tylenol, which is just terrible on your body to have, like literally it was like every 2 to 4 hours, because they were so painful. But I think there was just such psychic activity in there, and I didn't realize that's what it was from. And when we moved out, it went away. So when I feel it, it depends. Sometimes in an environment where there's a lot of really high energy, sometimes when I'm meditating or channeling. It definitely isn't a bad feeling anymore. I rarely get these headaches like as often. Sometimes I still do here and there if I'm having energetic upgrades. But I just tend to myself really well. I've learned to allow myself to rest when that does happen. And yeah, I would say mostly now it's like when I'm meditating or channeling, or even just like walking. Sometimes I can feel energy. Often when I get like a download or when there's an upgrade, I can feel a lot of activity in those upper areas. But I think now, because it's just so open all the time, that it happens a little bit less. But when like these chakras, these areas were opening up, Oh yeah, I felt a lot of energy. So I hope that answered your question there, Sherry. Take a peek at what everybody's saying. Um, why would you say headaches and ringing is mind control? It's not mind control. It's just your gifts that are like coming up online. And when you're hypersensitive, I think, to certain energies, your body can react in a certain way. But definitely not mind control. No, that's not what that is whatsoever. Um, yeah, let's see. Upgrading your tuning station. Yeah, exactly. Like there's moments when exactly that's what it is. It's like an increase in frequency or an increase in vibration. Sometimes you can feel just like a lot of sometimes I'll feel a lot of energy behind my eyes as well. And that's when I know I can sense sometimes with like headaches or just like I don't know, itchy eyes or discomfort or things in my ear, like just different things like that. It's I know that there's these upgrades, energetic upgrades that are happening at that time. Let's see. Okay, so next question. Hannah B 2383 was asking how to actually pray. Okay, so this is a good question. Take another sip of my tea here. How to actually pray. So I can really only answer based off of my own experience. I don't think there's only one right way to pray. I think, you can pray literally by keeping your hands like this, but I also think you can pray by even meditating. I think it's almost pretty much the same thing. It's just connecting to God, connecting to the divine. For me, one thing I would say though is that when I personally pray, I try to make sure that I'm coming always from a place of gratitude. I remember in the past, I'll be honest with you guys, when I was younger and I would pray, sometimes I would pray from a conditional place. That's not God is not like a transactional genie where you're like, if you do this, then I'll do that, or if you help me with this, then I'll do more of this XYZ. I've learned rather than coming to God asking for things, I like to go to God thanking God for everything that I have. If there is anything that I do ask God for when I pray, it's just protection over my family, over you guys, over all of the people that I love and care about. But other than that, I guess I would say personally, you can take it or leave it. But the way that I like to pray, I think there's no right or wrong way, is just to always just come to God with love and appreciation for everything that I have. I'm also getting the sense, actually, I feel like this is a message wanting to come through, where if you're coming up to somebody and rather than thanking them for all of the blessings that they've given you, for example, somebody makes you breakfast and the first thing you're saying, this is reminding me of my husband. So he made me some eggs and there was a bunch of pepper on it. And my first thought was rude. And I was like, why'd you put so much pepper? And it was more of a complaint. So I'm hearing it's the same thing when it comes to the divine. If you're complaining and that's the first thing you're doing when you're opening up that channel, because it is a channel, when you're praying, it's the same kind of thing. It's just you're maybe sharing rather than being able to necessarily hear in that moment, but that can build with practice. But if you're coming to God with complaints and asking for more things rather than, at least at the beginning, opening with gratitude, it's like, why does God want to give you more blessings if you're not grateful for what you already have? So somebody needed to hear that. I don't know who that was for, but I just had God just come through and slip that in here and say that when you do speak to me, make sure that you're coming to me open and humble and grateful and not, it's not like a human type of relationship in that sense, but at the same time, I'm hearing God is all powerful, God is all loving, but make sure that when you are approaching God, that you are coming from that same loving place and that you're not like asking for specific things. You're more so just being grateful for what you already have. Because when I'm hearing God already knows the desires of your heart, so you don't even have to verbally say them. God knows what you want better than you do. So as long as you're just coming forward with gratitude, then more of that gratitude will amplify. That's the vibration that you'll be in, and more beautiful things will come to you without you having to say, God, if you give me $50,000, then I will, I don't know, pray more or go feed a hungry child or whatever it is. You should just be doing that anyway for no gain, just because it's serving God and it's serving your heart and your purity. And so that's what I would say to how to actually pray. But of course, it is up to you. But the one thing I was hearing very strongly is God really likes to be approached with love and gratitude. Okay, let's see. See what else everybody's saying. Can you sense the person you made videos for in this live stream chat? All of you, all of the people that find each and every video. So I have many different collectives, and I don't know exactly who each person is or where you come from or which collective you're in. But if the message finds you, if God brings the message to you, then that's the message for you. But I have many different like waves of leaders here. I know all of you are leaders. I know all of you are earth angels. I know who I speak to, but I don't always know exactly who is on what timeline. But I talk to all timelines because all timelines I'm hearing right now are converging into one timeline. And that's why I'm here. It's to help all of us come onto this one timeline where we're all walking together hand in hand, leading the way. Yeah. Hello, Brenda. Do I do Reiki? I don't do like traditional Reiki, but I do have healing gifts, healing abilities, and I do send healing and love to people. But no, I haven't gone like for traditional healing with Reiki or anything like that. But I work with energy in all different kinds of ways, and it's not something I really tell people about because I know it can be a little weird when you're physically like healing and stuff like that. But it's something I'm getting more comfortable and more confident slowly with, and I like to to help heal in many different ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Yeah. Let's see. I have another little sip of my tea here while you guys are coming in. I see 104 of you, 106. That's so cool. If you guys are enjoying the video, I would love it so much if you guys wouldn't mind to like it. That really helps this video be boosted up even more. That would be awesome. Or heart the video. Okay, so let's see. Question number 4. This question is mixed with a question from Marie, Reina, and James Gill. So this question I wrote down as, how did I confront my shadows in myself and how did I work through them? This is a really good question. How I confronted shadows in myself and how I worked through them. Well, one of the first things I would say is that oh, I noticed there's a truck outside. That's okay. One of the first things that I would say is that I noticed that over time, these shadows were not these monsters that I thought they were, where I had so much shame. Shadows are what often comes, like a shadow self is a self that comes up when you're really triggered. It's a self that has been created as a form of protection from experiences or events that you are afraid of repeating again. And this can come out as forms of anger, forms of making yourself smaller, forms of just reactivity, different things like that. And so for me, over time, when I started understanding that these shadows were nothing but fragments of myself that had experienced trauma or harm in some specific way, I would then, rather than look at them with judgment, this is the biggest key, is to not look at your shadows with judgment, but to look at them with compassion, to look at them with love. And to even farther, I would say, to go into the shadow and figure out how old you were when that shadow happened. Because this is how you can give yourself so much more love and compassion when you understand that if you get angry, for example, in a conversation with a spouse or a friend or a family member, and you don't even know why you're getting so reactive. It could be for something so small, but to you, it's not small because there's maybe a 5, 6, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, however old version of you who is still trapped in those old cycles, those old belief systems. And a part of you scream to yourself that you would never allow that to happen again. And so it's this self protection mechanism that can appear really big and loud and scary and bad. And we can be really critical of ourselves. But when we understand where that actually came from and we give ourselves so much grace and so much compassion, and we get curious rather than judgmental, and we start trying to understand, okay, I'm triggered in this moment, even like naming it, like, okay, something triggered me. Letting it be said even out loud to the people around you can be really good, because then you can recognize awareness is the first thing. And then from there, trying to figure out how old do you feel. That's a big thing, because sometimes when you're really triggered, it almost feels like you get locked into your body and you feel small, and you can notice like, oh, I feel 8 years old right now. So then, if you go back to 8-year-old you, would you give them shame and tell them they're wrong and tell them all these horrible things that you're telling yourself? Or would you take that opportunity, or maybe even 20 years old, 30 years old, whatever it was, there's something that would have happened in that period of time in your life that really hurt. There's a wounded version of you. So if you confront that shadow that has wounds and you give it love and compassion and understanding and curiosity, it will melt away and you will realize that there is a version of you that is huddled inside that just needed you to love them. They just wanted to be heard and seen and understood. And that is how I worked through my shadows. It was just one thing after another, one shadow after another. And that is also how I was able to reclaim all of these fragmented aspects and pieces of myself, was by going into these shadows, looking at them, and trying to understand them from a place of love and reparenting a lot of the time as well. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple more questions here. Let's see. Have I time traveled or quantum leaped? Yes, many, many times. If you guys knew like where I came from when it comes to like, oh man, I used to have such horrible social anxiety and massive amounts of depression. I was like a shell of myself for so long. I was so disconnected. So if you like fully could step in my shoes and see like the way that I saw myself, the life that I was living, the energy levels that I had compared to where I am now, it's like I am, in a sense, I'm like a completely different version of myself, but at the same time, I'm more myself now than I ever have been before. This is the version of me that was underneath all of the pain and all of the trauma. And 100% I've quantum leaped again and again and again and again. And each time I do shadow work, each time I have a dark night of the soul, each time you have an ego death, that is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough, and it's the breakthrough to your next level, my loves. So yes, absolutely. I quantum leap to the fridge from time to time. I love that. You guys are funny. Hello from Quebec, Canada. Hello. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So question number 5, was there a moment or decision that stands out as requiring the most faith? Yes. So this is a really big, really important topic that I want to talk to you guys about, because I can think of a very specific moment in my life where it was a terrifying decision for me to make, that required the utmost faith. So for me, I have to give you guys some context to this, but I experienced like really, really bad bullying when I was in school. And not bullying necessarily from the kids, it was actually from the teachers. I had so much negative projections that were being sent towards me, a lot of just really horrible things that happened. Being somebody who just always very out of the box, always very different, that was never something that was nurtured or encouraged. It was something that would be almost targeted, is what it felt like, or shamed. And so for me, I was terrified of putting my daughter in the school system, just based off of all of the pain and the trauma that I experienced. Truly, like I experienced like years and years and years and years of some really messed up psychological things that happened to me from teachers in the school system. Honestly, I felt like they really failed me, unfortunately, and I had to self-teach myself a lot. But because my daughter, my oldest, is so similar, and I was seeing a lot of those same kind of things in her spirit and in her creativity and the way that she operates in the world, like me, she's a leader, she's not a follower. There was a part of me that was so terrified that they would like destroy her spirit in the way that I felt like mine was, because it really like caused some serious like dissociation and all kinds of really horrible, awful things. It took me like a decade to be able to heal from all of that, as well as the things that I experienced just like in my upbringing. So it's like there's been so much trauma, so much that was sent towards me in workplaces and like my upbringing and my school system. It kind of felt like there was nowhere that really felt like safe or like I belonged. So I do understand there was so much that I had to heal through to get to this point. This is why I try to say, like, I understand. I get you guys. I know what it feels like to be different. I know what it feels like to have a lot of pain and trauma and bullying and all of those kinds of things. I know how hard it is to climb out of that old version of yourself and to teach yourself to believe that you are more and to recognize that you are. But for me, I homeschooled my daughter for the first almost 2 years of like kindergarten and going into grade one. And initially, a part of it was because of love. Another part of it was guilt. I had a lot of guilt because I was working really hard. Before this, I used to be a photographer, a boudoir and wedding photographer, and I would go into extremes. You guys probably can relate to this, where I would go from like working really hard as an extreme overgiving over everything as a mom, and then if I wasn't doing that and I would feel guilty, I would overgive into like my work. So I never could figure out for a really long time how to have proper balance. So when my daughters were really little, I worked a decent amount with my second, also because I felt like I didn't have proper emotional regulation. This stuff goes deep, guys. So for me, it was a lot easier to have a village that I created because I didn't feel like I had any with my kids as they were growing up. So I started with daycare and putting a lot of my energy and focus and attention into my work so that I could try to find myself as well as help other people. But again, it wasn't a good balance, and it left me feeling with a lot of regret and guilt with not having that time that I really wanted to. And so I ended up homeschooling my daughter, but also a huge amount of it, if I'm being really honest, was also out of fear, just with all of the trauma and the psychological like warfare, honestly, is what it felt like for me growing up. And so as a form of protection, I was projecting a lot of my fears onto her. And I had to come to this decision one day when I realized I had been giving so much of myself that I just had nothing left for anybody. And I was really struggling, that I had to let go of that whole old identity of being the stay-at-home mom, the homeschooling parent. It was the most earth-shattering ego death for me, because it was like everything I had believed in up to that point of what a woman and a mother should be. And I felt like I failed. And I never did. I was always carrying too much, but that's what I had convinced myself of. Perfectionism, that kind of thing. And so for me, when I felt that it was time to let go of that, it was absolutely terrifying. But I knew if I didn't, I would suffer for it really badly. My family would suffer for it really badly. And so I had to take a leap of faith and trust that God would catch my daughter, that those things wouldn't happen to her, that she has a different story than I did. Those things had to happen to me in the exact ways that they did, because they built up my character, my resilience, all that kind of stuff. But that would definitely be that moment or that decision that stands out the most as requiring the most faith, was trusting that things would be different for my daughter. And even if they weren't different for her, that I had given her a strong enough foundation that she would not listen to other stories from other people about her intelligence like I had, and would instead come from a very different floor of self-worth that I had to create for myself. So yeah, that was definitely, and that was James Colvin, I think, who had asked that question. So thank you for asking, because that was a good question. Let's see what you guys are saying. Da, da, da. Let's see. Very admirable. Oh, thank you. Yeah, definitely came from a place of, huge love, but also just protection and fear from just some of the things that I had experienced. I just never want anybody, especially my own children, to go through what I went through. But again, I know that people have to experience things, even the ones that we love. Otherwise, how do they grow? They're here to evolve as a soul, and sometimes that does involve pain. But I think, as a parent, the best you can do is just make that floor really solid and teach them everything that you've learned, so that hopefully they don't have to repeat those same lessons. You are a gift for your daughters. Thank you. They are a gift to me. They are the reason for all that I do. They're the reason why I even healed in the first place. So if it wasn't for them, I would not be here. I would still be that old version of myself who was so lost in the wind, drifting about. Okay, next question. So this one's regarding relationships by Stacy C's. She was wondering, how does it feel for me to be in a relationship, and in what ways has it helped my purpose? How and in what ways has it been challenging? This is a great question. So a little bit more about me. Fun fact, I've been with my husband since I was 14 years old. We met in like high school science class. So we've been together for literally forever, lifetimes upon lifetimes. And for me to be in a relationship with him has been paramount to helping me with my purpose and to helping me get closer to myself. He was my biggest mirror, is my biggest mirror. He is literally the other half of me. He's my divine counterpart. I don't usually like going into like the lingo, but you could say twin flame if you want to. And so that is what he is for me. He's literally the other half. He is the exact blueprint of me, just in another form. And our journey is really beautiful. It's really something. Yeah, he's everything. If I didn't have him, I feel like this journey would have been so much harder for me, because I truly could not see myself. And even though we were really young and there was a ton of up and downs in the beginning of our relationship, he always saw me for me, and he has always been that mirror, whether it was through triggering or whether it was through love. Early on in our relationship, he's been like the biggest reason, that my safe place, that, as I was saying earlier on in my life, all of these experiences, I never felt like I had a safe place. He's my safe place. And so yeah, he's been a huge part of why I can do what I can do. Even just, the way that our life is, he was the reason why I was able to stay home and to work on all of this healing, and to try all of these different things creatively with, my photography that I used to do, and then developing more into writing my book, and then into my gifts. Always very encouraging. And yeah, if it wasn't for him being there just as my backup, as somebody I can bounce my ideas with and have that special relationship with, I don't know where I would be. So I'm very grateful to him. But this isn't to say that it was always all rainbows and butterflies. For those of you who have a twin flame, like we are, we're healed. We've gotten to the point where it's like a full union now, which is really beautiful. But before, my goodness, like I was the one who always really knew. He was the one who also really knew, but it terrified him being so young. As I said, we were only 14 when we met. It was really scary for him to accept for the first like 4 or 5 years that we were dating, like that this was it. Like I knew, I was like, yep, that's it, that's my person. And he knew too. But yeah, for him it was like he would have a lot of people in his ear saying, oh, you're so young, and you should explore this and do that. And so I think when you're young, you're really susceptible as well to hearing different opinions. But a lot of that shifted after we had a very just unfortunate thing happen in our family, and it really it shook him like to his core, and was able to help him recognize and realize that the feelings that he had towards me, and that knowing that he had towards me, he didn't want to lose that. And I didn't either. And so that's how that healed. But definitely, even now, like, it's not to say that we have a perfect relationship. I'm very happy, of course, but there's still things that I'll mention. Like, for example, communication is one of the biggest things. I can find that that's a very difficult thing, especially in all relationships, especially when you're healing. There were definitely times when, just based off of, as I mentioned in the beginning, off of my childhood, there were a lot of unmet needs that I experienced and unconsciously looked for him to fill. And so for like a really long time, pretty much the whole majority of our relationship until recently, I really struggled with feeling like I always wanted more, like more of his time, more of his energy, more of his presence. But it took me a while. And in my book, I mentioned this whole situation as to how I realized this, but it took me a while to recognize that it wasn't more of him that I wanted, because in the past I had so much time, as a teenager before all these responsibilities, I had all of the time in the world with him, and it really made me look inwards, and I realized it wasn't more of him I was wanting, it was more of myself, and to give myself that love that I was seeking in another. This is something that's so important when it comes to relationships. If you're looking at another person to fulfill you or to give you what you feel like you're lacking, you will constantly be looking for more in that person, because it's a wound, and they can't actually fix what you feel is empty. That's something that you have to do on your own. Like, somebody shouldn't be your whole happiness. And so this is why I really teach a lot when I talk about relationships, or if you've seen any of my videos about divine counterparts, twin flames, all of that fun stuff. Again, I don't really love using the lingo of that because there's a lot of false narratives that are in the spiritual community. It is a real thing, but a lot of the way that they speak about it is very unhealthy, and I do not agree with it at all. But for us, yes, there was definitely a lot of, and still continues to be, a lot of learning. But yeah, if it wasn't for him, he truly is like my biggest mirror. He's the other half. And so I've learned with him too, like anytime I experience, thank you very much, Henry. May you receive that back tenfold. But anytime I experience any kinds of like triggering, especially in regards to him, I've learned, because he is a mirror, that there's something there that needs to be healed. So when you're in a relationship with somebody like this who actually is your divine counterpart, they teach you so much if you pay attention, and rather than feeling reactive, you get responsive and you try to understand why you might be reacting the way you are, and understanding that they are a mirror of all of your good as well as all of your bad. And so you can choose to heal together, or you can choose to separate. That's what a lot of people end up choosing if they are struggling with healing together, because these types of relationships are so insanely intense. But when they're healed, and even when they're intense, they're beautiful, they're amazing. And yeah, for me, it feels like heaven. That's what it feels like for me. And yeah, but it took some time to get there. It's always felt like heaven, but yeah, there's been lots of up and downs on the journey, but now we're just flying high together, and it's beautiful. Yeah. See if there's any other questions. Do I believe in Jesus? Yes, I believe in Jesus. Absolutely. Jesus is like, he's my best friend. He's everything to me. Yes, I have a very personal, intimate relationship with Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't believe in Jesus. I know Jesus. I know him very deeply. Okay, so next question, number 7. What was the moment, season, when I realized I couldn't keep living the way I was, and what was I afraid would happen if I chose myself? Excellent question. This kind of goes back into the question before the last one. So the moment and season when I realized I couldn't keep living the way I was again when I was like in the depths of, man, like in 2023 or 2024, it was the most soul exhausting year I have ever been through in my entire life. I went through like 21 lessons that God brought me through, accelerated, and it was insane. It was like everything, and anything, like the big wounds, the big players that were really affecting me. Thank you so much. I think your name was Aintha. Thank you so much, tenfold to you. But like, oh man, those moments, like God really took me through the ringer, and anything that was holding me back, all of the really massive wounds that I had with my parents, with my self-worth, my self-love, my hyper-productivity, all the things. It was like one after another. My goodness, I felt like I could not breathe or catch a break. It was the hardest year of my life. Like, it was so heavy and so intense, and I don't know how I managed to do everything that I did. Like, my husband was suffering from a pretty intense illness at the time, which was extremely scary and overwhelming. I was homeschooling, going into the 2nd year, and was super depleted on energy, overgiving, overdoing everything. I was also writing my book during that time, staying up really late, doing it like at quiet time, nap time, early in the morning, in the evening. My book came out of me. It just poured out like water. I couldn't stop. So any second I had, I seriously don't know how I did it. It was all me. I'm going to give myself that credit too, but it was also all God. Like, it was channeled through me. 21 lessons that God took me through to help me come back home to myself. And truly, it was like the hardest year of my life. I was so energetically depleted. I felt like I was dying. I kid you not. Like, that was a year where literally I remembered there was like days when, because I was so tired, I, I I'll be honest with you guys, there were days when I would like all I had energy for was to do like 2 hours of homeschooling with my daughter. And then I would put them in front of the TV. And I know that's terrible, but I did it because I was surviving. And I would lay down and I would guilt shame myself and I would say horrible things and I was depressed and I was anxious and it was terrible. Like it got to the point too where like my thoughts were getting really dangerous. And yeah, I don't think I had ever been that depressed in my life. I know depression. I've had a lot of postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. Like I've experienced some really, really deep, dark lows, but that was something else because it was tied to my self-worth as a parent, um, and as a wife and as a woman. And so it was really hard for me. And I remembered one time I had taken my girls to gymnastics and my youngest was having like a tantrum, and normally it shouldn't be such a big deal, but in that moment I just felt like I could not, like I couldn't. I just remembered thinking, that's all I kept thinking, I can't do this anymore. And I literally dissociated and like flew out of my body. It's like my body was here, but I was in such survival mode that it felt too hard to be here. So my consciousness, my mind flew out somewhere else and I was like robotic. And I remember I came home and I slid down the kitchen like door and I just bawled my eyes out and it was so dark. And my husband was like, what is going on? And I just had to tell him, like, and I remembered I felt like such a failure during that time because like so much of my self-worth was tied to my productivity and how I showed up as a mother. And I had convinced myself just with the experiences I'd seen growing up that a mother and a woman and a wife had to be a very specific way. And if it wasn't like everything, if it wasn't all or nothing, then I felt like I was like totally failing. And so it was really bad. And that's when I realized that if I didn't stop the way that I was going about things, that I might not be here anymore because like I felt like I was dying. Like I felt like I was literally run over by a truck. I could hardly get up. I was hardly brushing my hair. Brushing my teeth was hard. Like I know what depression is and I have been there. So if anybody is there right now, I'm sending you so much love, hugging you through the screen because it's no joke. Mental health is no joke. And yeah, if that's you right now, I just want to let you know that you're loved and that you're enough and that your worth is not based off of your productivity or how much you can handle or how much you can carry. And if you feel like you can't carry all that you're carrying, you're not failing, you're just carrying too much and you are allowed to receive help. So I wish somebody would have told me that like back then, that it didn't mean I was failing. I was just carrying too much. My husband helped me understand that. So thanks to him again. But yeah, that was definitely that moment. And what I was afraid would happen if I chose myself, well, I thought my entire life would fall apart. And in a sense, it did, but not in a bad way, in a way where it fell together. And rather than it falling apart and everybody, going amok and everything going crazy, it became so much better. And another thing I learned is that if your life requires you to overextend and overgive and sacrifice yourself for it, and if it wouldn't stand, the life that you've built wouldn't stand without you holding everything up, then maybe it's not meant to, because that's not sustainable. And sometimes it's better to let it all crumble and start over again, start fresh, than to exist in a life that you've built for yourself upon fear, lack, scarcity, overgiving, wounds, burdens, all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes, like, when it gets to that point, if you're the only one holding things up and it feels like if you're not holding it up, it crumbles, then maybe it's meant to, so that a new way can be born. So that's what I was afraid of. And then what happened was I had more time for myself. We put our kids in daycare and school. And I started working through a lot of that guilt. That's not to say that when you do these changes and you go through a really huge, like earth-shattering identity death, or like when you choose yourself, that it's immediately like, yay, and you feel all good and happy. That's not reality. It's hard. You're going to battle with a lot of these feelings and thoughts and guilts and all kinds of stuff. But as you work through that, it's like you're going to see the truth, the reality, and you're going to see that other people are still okay. And in fact, sometimes they're even better off and they're functioning, not without you, never that, but just with you having more support. I realized a regulated mother was better than a mother who was so burnt out and overgiving and dysregulated. And so I learned that taking time for self is not selfish, it's necessary. That was one of the biggest lessons I needed to learn as a mom. Yeah. Okay, see if anybody has any questions. I'll flip to the next page. Let's see. I love that you guys are talking to each other in the comments. See if there's anything here. Maria says, I had no support, 3 kids. My adoptive family cut the link. Oh, I'm sorry. That's really hard. It's really hard. But Maria, you're always allowed to create that new village for yourself. Like sometimes that might look like the form of friendships, or it might look like daycare, or look like school. You don't have to do this here alone. You're not meant to do this alone. You're meant to have a village, and it's not prideful to try to do everything on your own. It's better to allow yourself to have assistance, because like I was saying, it leads to just some pretty gnarly things if you're trying to do everything on your own. So I know it's easier said than done, but just even allowing yourself to be open to receive help, and to know that sometimes it might come in forms that you're not expecting. And sometimes it might push your comfort zone to allow that type of form of help in. Sometimes it's just really necessary. Okay. Number 8. What parts of myself did I have to grieve, release, or forgive in order to become who I am today? Oh boy. All of them. To be really honest with you guys, all of the parts. There was like, seriously, I had to completely destruct this whole old identity, this false self, this version of myself. I used to think I had no gifts. I used to think that I was really dumb. I used to think that I was really just worthless myself. Like it, yeah, I know what that feels like. And so for me, I had to grieve so many old versions of myself. Like I had to grieve the self that was a martyr. I had to grieve the self that was overgiving and was sacrificing herself. I had to grieve the self that thought that she could do it all. I had to grieve the self that just experienced a lot of pain. There's so many selves. I can't even think of all of them, but like there are so many versions of myself that I outgrew, that I had to grieve, that I had to release. Like the small self, the self that, even just being spiritual, like I was so terrified of allowing people to know that I had some of these gifts. I was so scared to come out of the spiritual closet for so long. I thought people would think I was bad or weird or whatever, but I realized that was also keeping me back from the very people who were my people. I was isolating myself because of my own fear. And so even that I had to grieve, because it's sad when we realize that we were holding ourselves back, like from these different things. So even just the grieving process of the selves that felt like they weren't worthy or deserving or loved or safe. And I had to forgive versions of myself too, for allowing myself certain things, or for staying, in certain relationships or friendships longer than I should have, especially like in the workforce. I think I just experienced so much abuse and kept attracting a lot of that because I kept trying to prove my worth and try to have validation through people, when again, everything comes down to you guys. Like this is the biggest message. This is why my book is called The Missing Piece Is You, because this is the truth. This is the truth that everybody is looking for. Everything that you're looking for on the outside: love, validation, success, wealth, abundance, happiness, freedom, liberation, joy, everything and anything that you could possibly look for is found within you first. And if you're going to look for it in anything or anyone, or a material thing or person, you're not going to find it. You're going to for a moment feel like good. It's like a hit of sugar where you might like accumulate something, or even like vacations or homes or wealth or success. None of this stuff actually matters. Like this is why there are millionaires who have everything, but they are depressed and they're empty, because they're thinking all of these external things will fill the internal void, but the only thing that can fill that internal void is God and is you. And so that was like the hardest lesson, and I'm still learning this even to this day. There's still moments when I'll catch myself. My ego will be like, I want this, or I'm waiting for this, or I'm hoping for that. It's not to say that I'm perfect. I'm still very human. I'm still learning and growing and becoming. And well, I feel like I'm not really becoming. I feel like I've become now, but still still just recognizing. I think this is important too. Like if we're talking about enlightenment, enlightenment doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean that you never have these things come up. It's just awareness of the ego and understanding um, where these thoughts might come from, or wounds where they might come from, and just reminding yourself again and again and again every time that it happens that the answer is you. Always going back to yourself and God. That's the cycle that you want. You don't want the cycle of looking for more outside of you, because it leads to you looking for more and more and never being fulfilled. So if you want to be fulfilled, if you want inner liberation, if you want all those good feelings, they are you. It's not even that they're within you. You are those things. You are the love. You are the joy. You are the success. You are the abundance. You are the, as I like to say, the holy papaya, like the like the abundance, the joy, the deliciousness, all of those things that you're looking for, like the fruit. You are everything that you're looking for. It's not something that you find outside of yourself. And in fact, like this is why when we are manifesting something, Spirit's taking me on this journey to talk about with you guys. It's like if you have certain things that you're wanting, I'm hearing you will not be getting them until you have recognized that the thing that you're looking for outside of yourself, the feeling, it's never the thing, it's not the money, it's not the material aspect, but until you recognize that the feeling, that thing that you're trying to bring into your life is you, until you can feel that feeling within yourself and find it within yourself, that thing stays off in the distance, because God doesn't want to bring that thing to you. Because what happens if you haven't done that inner work to recognize that you are what you're looking for, you get that manifestation and then you don't actually enjoy it, because as I was saying, it's like a hit of sugar. You might enjoy it in the moment, but then you're left feeling empty again, and then you're like, where is it? And then you constantly are like looking, and you're just never fulfilled, you're never happy. And so when you find that fulfillment within yourself, when you find wholeness within yourself, everything is magnetized to you, because you're attracting it. You're not chasing anything. You're not looking for something, a person or whatever it is, because you feel like you don't have it. That's a very lackful vibration. And I get it. I've been there 100%, billion times. But when you're operating from that frequency, it's like all of these things are going to stay at like just away from your fingertips. You won't be able to touch them, because you're still like extrapolating what it is that you're looking for into something external, rather than witnessing that you are the thing. Like it's you. Thank you, Beth Costello, tenfold to you. She said her purpose is to end this lying to children Santa tradition, to spiritual awakenings. I don't know what that, oh, I see. Oh, I think, well, my thoughts on it is that I like to believe in magic, and I allow my kids to have that full experience, because I think it's really special. But again, I think everybody is different. I think every parent has a right to share what they want to share. And I think if there was a lot of wounding that happened for you there, I'm so sorry. I think if that's what feels really aligned for you, then, you go ahead and you listen to that. But personally, I don't really feel the same, but that's okay. We don't have to. There's no right or wrong here. It just, all of it just is. Jonas, thank you for your powerful channels. I know I needed to hear and keep me strong on the path. Much love. Aw. Let's see. Tanisha, going through a Kundalini rising and spiritual awakening. Letting go and being about self and detachment from the matrix has been the best thing that has happened to me. I'm really proud of you. That is the best. Yeah. Letting go of the matrix. Matrix is created to keep us disconnected from ourselves and our true power. And so when you start unplugging from that and replugging into yourself and into God and the truth of who you are, your whole life will change. Okay. Let's see. Number 9, what did my healing actually look like behind the scenes when no one was watching and it wasn't pretty or spiritual? So I did touch on this a little bit, but I wanted to answer this question because I want you guys to understand and know that like healing is messy. It's not pretty. Sometimes we like to have crystals and, all these fancy things and we make it look a certain way, but that's like crystals are definitely part of it. I work with crystals myself. I love crystals. I'm like one of those little gremlins who's all about crystals and rocks and shiny things and feathers and shells and, all this stuff. Earth, I strongly have a connection with earth and believe that earth is also like the key to so much, to grounding and connecting with yourself. Um, but my healing was, yeah, it was messy, it was painful. There was many times when I was just bawling my eyes out every day for days on end. I mean, like 2023 or 2024, that really hard year that I experienced, I think I probably cried, more that year than I have in many other years combined. Yeah, healing is hard. It's rough, it's scary, it's exhausting, soully exhausting. Um, it looked messy and snotty. But also real and true. And I was lucky enough that I allowed myself to get out there and meet other people who are part of that healing journey and got to witness me having those breakdowns for those breakthroughs and who held me through them. In the moment, I didn't always realize it, but now that I look back, I can see I've been so lucky. I've never really been alone. I've been really lucky that I've called in. And this started happening when I started allowing myself to be more of myself and shared who I truly was with people rather than holding a whole half of me that was spiritual and connected back. I started calling in a lot more people who actually saw me and allowed me to, just didn't allow it, but just people that I felt safe with. And yeah, I allowed more people in, and so all of that healing, there was multiple different ways of it, but it was messy, but it was also good because it was also connected with some people as well. um Also, my healing, like as I was mentioning when I was writing my book, it was very helpful for me because as I was writing my book, I was healing. So it was a way for me to understand what was actually happening and like to go through like all of the different lessons, because I think when you're in the moment, you don't necessarily even realize or understand what it is that's happening or the things that you're going through. So I really suggest journaling. I'm hearing for those of you going through like some crazy things like this, you're going to want a journal. You're going to want to be able to go back one day and see how far you've come. Your medicine is, it's everything. There are people out there who are going to need to learn from you, who are going to want to learn from you. All of you here are learning from me. So if it wasn't for me writing down all of that data and journaling, a lot of the things in my book are straight from my journal. Even the prompts that I have put in there are the ones that I asked myself when I was trying to dig deeper into like my wounds and my own healing. So yeah, it the way that it looked was messy, wasn't pretty, was hard, was exhausting, but in a sense it was also incredibly beautiful because it's when a soul cracks open and the light comes in. And so it was a mix of everything, and I'm really grateful for it. Okay. Yeah, messy tears, I hear you. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Number 10, who was I before the healing and who am I now that I don't abandon myself? Ooh. Okay, let's have another sip of the tea for this one. Mm. Who was I before the healing and who am I now that I don't abandon myself? I feel like when I was really young, I was, still pretty bubbly and still pretty outgoing, even through some of the things that I experienced. But I think really, like, when I became a mom, that's when some of the biggest, like, postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression happened. And that's when it's like I really became a shell of myself. I lost all of my friends. I was very young when I had my oldest. I was only, 21 when I had my oldest. And so everybody that was around me at that time just dropped and left. And for like years it really had really hurt. But I understand now as I've gotten older, everybody was just on a different timeline. And my daughter, again, like my children are everything. If it wasn't for them, again, I wouldn't be even close to where I am today. I probably still would be, existing with some of those old friendships. And even when I had those old friendships, I realized that like they weren't friendships that were, um like I still felt really alone even though I had those friendships. Like they were nice friendships, but not like the type of friendships that I have now, because even still back then, I think I was trying to blend in. I was trying to mold myself to the people around me because I wanted to belong, I wanted to be liked. And so those friendships were not ones that could continue because where I was going next, it was so drastically different from the direction that those people were going in that part of my journey. And so um it was really, yeah, it was really hard. So I'd say like who I was before I was healing was like this shell of a version of myself. I had horrendous social anxiety. Like, guys, I mean horrendous. Like, I remembered being terrified even to just go to a yoga class. I was so scared of just like going out of my house because I had convinced myself that like the reason I had lost all my friends was because my body had changed, like all of these horrible, not good things. And so that was hard. But for me, I've always been the kind of person that like at some point I get sick of myself. like like when I'm like staying in these negative vibrations for too long, there's a part of me that's like that is my soul that's like enough. Like you know who the heck you are. You know who you are. And I'm gonna say to you, you know who you are. So even if you're like outside reality is like you're feeling all doom and gloom, there's a version of you inside, and there's a version of me that was inside that was like, put on your freaking crown and get yourself out there. Like, stop it. And I would get sick of myself, of feeling crappy. So I would do something about it and I would push myself. I would challenge myself. And like I started with doing some like sassy dance classes to like get myself out there, and like would try to do things that would really put me out of my comfort zone. Like this today, this put me out of my comfort zone. This still makes me anxious to show up on here, but this isn't about performance. This is just about presence and showing up and having fun with you guys. And so it doesn't need to be as scary as we make it out to be. But yeah, like I was a different version of myself that was so angry, that was hurting, that carried so much shame, that was so much smaller. Like I didn't feel like I could take up space. Um, I was so disconnected to like all aspects of myself. I didn't know how to have proper emotional regulation. I was very reactive rather than responsive. I hurt people sometimes, I'm sure, like with the things that I would say. And um, yeah, like I went through a phase where I just really lost myself. I really lost myself and didn't know who I was. And um, that was just, I send that version of myself so much love and so much grace because I know what she's been through. I know why she was the way she was. And I have so much love and compassion for every single version of myself now. It wasn't always like that. It's taken a long time to get to that point, but I love every aspect of all versions of Kiana. I'm so grateful. Um, and all of them are beautiful. All of them are holy. All of them are divine, even in the moments when I felt furthest from it. And who am I now that I don't abandon myself? I am more me than I've ever been before. I know who I am. I know what my purpose is. I know who I'm speaking to. I'm so connected to myself. I feel whole. I feel joyful, more joyful than I thought was humanly possible. I feel at one with myself. I feel at one with God. And of course, I still have moments that, there's ups and downs and experiences that happen, but like my baseline is very different. I'm not an angry person whatsoever. I have so much compassion. I have no judgment. I feel free. I feel rich in abundance in everything that I have because I've realized that I'm the key to all of the things, and I just feel at peace with myself. I have inner peace. There's nothing greater than that. And so completely different. It's like an entire 180. I feel like it's like more than 180. It's like around and around and around and around. I went many, many times, and now I just feel complete. Yeah. Let's see. See if there's any other questions. Tammy said, I present calmly. Thank you. It's not about performance, it's about presence. Noted. Yeah, exactly. It's not about performance. Who are you trying to perform for? Like, just be you. If you're putting on a performance, it's because you're putting on the mask of another person. You're trying to be liked, and I'm hearing like who you are is beautiful, who you are is likable right now, and the right people. You want people to like, people are going to love you and people are going to hate you. Both are going to exist. This is the duality on this planet. That's hard, but that's okay. Like that's part of the whole experience, and you will never allow yourself to be truly loved if you're trying to be somebody that you're not, or if you're trying to perform. So to figure out who you actually are, it's like focusing more on the things that light you up, even if they're weird, even if they're quirky, even if they scare you to share them with other people. Like just sharing what you know, sharing your heart. It's key. Yeah. Yeah, presence over perfection is another one I'm hearing. Like, you don't need to be perfect. I'm totally winging this. Like, I had some questions of the things I would talk about, but I didn't know how this was all going to come out. So, yeah, not aiming for perfection. We're just aiming for presence, truth, love, and connection. Greetings from the Netherlands. Hello. Hi from South Africa. If you guys are just catching the live now, welcome. Don't worry. I am going to try to figure out how to do a replay, and we still have some time here. Okay, so next question. I've got 2 more questions here, and then we're going to open up the stage for you guys to go ahead and ask any extra ones. So next question is, what parts of myself did I hide, minimize, or silence, and how did I slowly give them permission to exist again? Really good question. So the parts of myself that I hid was like how emotional and sensitive I actually am. And this isn't to say like, that I wear like an armor or anything like that, but definitely I used to when I was younger because being sensitive was something that felt very unsafe. So for me, like my sensitivity, I see it now as a gift. I used to think it was a weakness, but I realized it's my greatest gift because it's what helps me connect to you guys, and it helps me connect to my own gifts, like my spiritual gifts. Is part of how I can do all that I do because I'm in touch with my emotions. I'm in touch with myself. I'm regulated. Um, but I used to really like try to hide and suppress how emotional and sensitive I was. Like, even to the point when if I would cry because there was something joyful, I would feel embarrassed and I would feel shameful. That's how like messed up internally, not messed up, but just how like challenging it was for me to experience when I was younger, because crying was something that was considered like a weakness or shameful. It's kind of how I was brought up to feel like regarding sensitivity and emotions and tears. I was really like not intentionally belittled or ridiculed, but that's how it felt. Because when I would cry, I would be like laughed at and shamed for it my from my dad in that time. But it's also because, again, like some of the experiences that he went through, he battled some of the, and my mother too, battled some of the worst generational curses, like of physical abuse and things like that. And but there were still things that both of my parents didn't know how to address. Like, we all do the best that we can, and so a lot of the other types of pain that he experienced, like same, the emotional suppression, like this is why I can understand so many people so well, because I've experienced it myself. um but he experienced a lot of that emotional suppression and a lack of safety when it comes to being sensitive and feeling, muzzled and all of that kind of stuff. I felt the same. So like that's also why it's kind of shocking if you like knew who I was when I was younger, to see me speaking like this. Like, I could not even identify my own emotions. I had stage fright. I was terrified of standing up. I didn't want to be seen for periods of times. Like, it's just wild how far I've come. So, little hug to myself there. But yeah, I hid a lot of my sensitivity. I hid my gifts as well because, again, I thought I would be like demonized for them. I thought people would think I was, I don't know, you know, there was a lot of fear. If you guys have seen in some of the videos that I've done here up on YouTube and TikTok regarding spiritual gifts, I come from a line of women as well as people from my father's side who are very spiritual, very tapped in. And there was a lot of taboo around that. It wasn't something you talked about. It was something that was unsafe or dangerous or bad and feared. So I really kept that part of myself hidden, which is sad because it's such a huge part of myself. And I was one of the first people in my family to explore those gifts and realize that there's nothing to be afraid of. They come from the light. They are of the light. They are love. And so I've actually been able to teach my family that a little bit. And so now they've opened up a lot more, and they're recognizing that these gifts that they have are to help humanity. They're not scary. Yeah. Let's see if anybody has any questions. Are your readings downloads worldwide or only for people in the Americas? Oh, my love, they're for everybody. They're worldwide. I speak to this entire planet, to humanity. They're not just for one specific person. They are for everyone. Everybody needs to hear the things that God is telling me. This is not for one person, it's for humanity. Like, that's part of my role. That's why I'm here. It's to help you guys step into the truth of who you are, into your purpose, into your inner liberation, into your true calling, and into God, like who God created you to be, to help you in that, to help you find that inner courage. And but if you were asking about like the one-on-one sessions that I do, those again are for worldwide. You don't actually have to, like, it's not like a one-on-one call where we're like this. It's actually a recorded video, kind of like what you see on YouTube or TikTok, where you ask me 4 questions and then I open up that whole bridge connection between us and spirit, and then I can pull answers down. But that's for everybody who is ready to step into the next version of themselves and who might need a little bit more guidance. Again, answers are always within you, but sometimes we need somebody who isn't afraid of their gifts and who's been doing this for a while and who's very versed and very versed and practiced in it enough to be able to hear clearly and bring you just a little bit more clarity and guidance on yourself. A lot of the time I find that when I do these channeled messages, the one-on-one ones, it's very revealing in the sense of like gently helping you see yourself better and seeing where you might be stuck and helping to shift that perspective into one that's much more empowering so that you can step forward into why you're actually here. So I hope that answers that question. Oh, there's a doctor in attendance. That's awesome. Me and you were like, well, cheers. Yeah, we're doctors of different kinds. Maybe you're a physical doctor and I'm a doctor of mind, body, and soul. That's awesome. So many of us, I've been hearing in the New Earth, are going to be working together in so many different ways, and it's going to be so beautiful. Do I consider myself a loner, or do I spend time with people in person other than immediate family? This is a good question. A little bit of both, if I'm being honest. Mainly a loner. I'm much more introverted than extroverted. I know maybe that's like not something you guys thought, because I know I'm always happy and and everything, but I am pretty introverted. I do like to spend a lot of time to myself. Honestly, I need to, because of all of these things that are coming in. I need to keep my field pretty clean and open. I'm very selective with who is in my inner circle, protective of that. I know my energy is very it's everything. It's how I do everything, so I have to be mindful of it. But I do have like a smaller circle of friends, but it's not something really big. I really believe in quality over quantity. But yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a loner. Even my family, honestly, I'm kind of a loner. But I like it that way. I don't mind. I still make sure that I allow myself to go out and meet people, of course, too, when I feel called. But yeah. When is the new earth coming? Baby, it's already here. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. One more question for you guys and then we'll open it up. How did my relationship with God, the divine, and my inner knowing change through my darkest seasons? Okay, so this is a really good question. This is a hard question to answer. How did my relationship with God, divine, inner knowing change through my darkest seasons? Well, first of all, again, I went from being very disconnected from myself. So if you're very disconnected from yourself, it's harder to hear God as well, I found. And there's been many moments where I would kind of come close to God and then I would go away, come close to God and go away. But to be really honest, it's not until recently that I have really come to know God. I think I knew of God for a long time. I did grow up in a somewhat religious household, but and I went to church and all of those things, and I still go to church now, but I went through a very big period of time, like a decade, where I didn't. But I went because at that time my family was going. So I didn't really know God personally. Like, I've always been connected to God. I don't know if I always recognized or understood that's what it was. Always very connected to the light. But I didn't fully grasp or understand that relationship until much, much later in life. Until I got to the point, honestly, in 2023, where I completely surrendered. When I was like, I can't figure it out anymore. And I trusted God in that moment. And I said, you know me better than I do. You know what my desires are better than I do. I trust you. I let go of the wheel. I let go of being the one trying to lead the lantern, and I'm going to give it to you, and I will follow. And that is when I really started getting to know God. Shortly after I did that, that was like the first prayer I had done in, I don't know, like a decade. Literally within 2 days of that happening, I got the first download for the first chapter of my book. So yeah, it's now as I've gone through this healing journey, I recognize that I have always been led. I have always been protected divinely. I have always been connected, seriously protected. Like when I was, I think like 7 or 8, I almost drowned and I had angels. I know I have angels. I can speak to them, but I had angels who literally like tapped my mom on the shoulder while I was drowning and came, and she just had this sudden urge, this feeling to get up and to check on me, and pulled me out of the water. But like technically I should have died. So um I've always known that I've had something looking out for me, someone looking out for me. I didn't know, that it was Jesus. I didn't know that it was my guides and my angels until much later in life. But yeah, the relationship now that I have with myself and with the divine is the best thing. It just is, it's incredible. I actually got baptized last year too, which was really amazing, and not from a place of fear, but from a place of trust, and truly trusting that like standing up for service and saying like I'm here to do what it is that you're calling me to do. So it definitely changed over time, because I went from not really knowing God and struggling even with my belief in God for a long time, to really getting to know who God is and what God is, and my personal connection to God. And when I did that, more of my gifts opened up, and um, I attribute everything to God. I'm thankful for absolutely every single thing in my life. This whole journey, all of the healing, everything that I've gone through was God. God was leading the boat the entire time, even though little me, human me, thought I was in control. God's always been, we always have free will, of course, but I've learned that God loves you so much that, he will try to direct you into the direction that you're meant to be going in. I wouldn't say that I'm a very religious person, actually, so this is always a bit of a surprise for people. I'm very spiritual, but I know Jesus. I just know him in a bit of a different way than um, necessarily that like the church or religious dogma believes in. I have a very intimate, unique relationship. I follow the way that he teaches. And so, yeah, that's a bit about my relationship with God. I pray, I read the Bible, I know Jesus, I know Yeshua. I'm grateful. The reason why I'm here is because of them. The reason I'm still here is because of them. The reason that I'm talking to you today is because of them. So yeah, my relationship with God has just grown over time, and it's extremely strong like iron. Okay, so that was the end of the questions that I had written down here. I am going to open up the stage for you guys to go ahead and ask any more that you have. Wow, we've been here for a while, so we'll probably close this down pretty soon. But I wanted to actually ask you guys a question, since I've been doing a lot of the yapping. I'd love to hear, for those of you who are still here. And you don't need to, there's no right answer, and you don't need to go too in depth here, but I would really love to know, what is one way that you know that you are growing, even if your life doesn't look like the way you thought it would yet? And an example of this is maybe you've become more responsive than reactive. So I would love to know, what is one way that you've noticed that you are growing? Put it in the comments below. I feel like this is really good, because it can help you see that even if there's little, visible movement, there is so much internal movement, and things are changing. And I want you guys to do a little bit of self-reflecting as an exercise here, so that you can see the amazing ways that you are being led in life, and the amazing ways that you are working on yourselves, and for us to just celebrate one another, because I know this work it's tough. So I'm proud of you. I want to get to know you guys too. What is one way you are growing? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. I'll give you guys a few minutes, drink my tea here, and I'll read. So I'm not going to say names, but if there's anything I see here, I'll mention it. Peace inside. That's wonderful. Peace inside is the biggest accomplishment, truly. I've learned that growth is personal. Each path is meant for each individual, and others can't see what you see. Very true. Deep love that flows some days. That's wonderful. My growth seems to be by observing. That's awesome. Yep. We learn so much from others. Seeing gifts in everyone, setting boundaries. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. That's so important. Patience, amazing. More obedient to God. Wow, you guys, this is huge. I hope you guys give yourself like a little pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back, a little hug. This is a really good. This is amazing. Actually, resting first. Yes, heck yeah. Rest is hard. That's a hard one to overcome and allow yourself. Peace, gratitude, excitement, love, joy. Understand my worth. I will no longer overextend myself. Oh, love that. This makes me feel like I want to cry, you guys. Oh, feeling God's love, the love between us. I'm so protected. Oh, yes, you are. Setting and achieving goals. Amazing. Good on you. Yes. What you let your mind consume on a daily basis is truly important. Yes, you guys listen to some of these because even there's people in here teaching now too. I love it. Yes. That's why we're here. It's not just me. You guys are a part of this. We're all rising together. Peace within. Amazing. My discipleship. Not giving unsolicited advice. That's a really good one. That's hard sometimes, especially as an empath. Stepping more into my power. Awesome. Knowing what is worth my energy. That's a hard one. Being comfortable in my faith in the unknown and relinquishing the need for control. Yes. Oh, that was like the hardest one for me. Well done. Pat on the back for both of us there. I've taken on philosophy. It stood the test of time. Awesome. I love that. Learning. That's great. Learning that I don't have to say a word in situations, leaving it to the Lord to handle the situation. Yes. Feeling every breath, each inhale. Amazing. That's great. That's bringing in presence. I am a revelation. That's badass. Yes, you are. Oh, I love this. I love like cheering you guys up and reading your little comments. Oh, this is like my favorite part. I want to like say it louder, you guys. Bump yourselves up here. You guys are amazing. You guys are like the most badass crew of light workers. It's such an honor to get to work with you guys and see what you're accomplishing. It's so beautiful. These are like the true accomplishments, more than, the external things. Is like, this is the gold. Like, this is beautiful. Fighting battles while I sleep missions. Yeah, for sure. It's probably why you wake up tired. Little wink there. Learning that no is a full sentence. Absolutely. That's good. A relationship with Jesus Christ. Knowing you're walking in spirit. Yes. A lot more responsive than reactive. It's awesome. Was led into the wilderness and has been over 3 years in the cocoon. It's been wild. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, GJS 135. May your love and generosity be returned to you tenfold. See if there's a couple more. Please pray for my healing as we prepare my vessel for my baptism. Yeah, everybody, if you're here and you believe in prayer, let's all send positive energy that way. I forgot what your name was, I'm sorry, but sending you that prayer, that love. Oh, it's going to be beautiful for you to be refilled with all of that divinity and that divine love. Awesome. Nice to catch you guys too. Yeah, the wilderness is a blessing. It's like the hardest thing in the moment and in that season, but truly it's what like refines you and changes you. And yeah, awesome. Okay, my back's getting a little sore, guys, so we're gonna get going here pretty soon, but let's open up the stage. Does anybody have any last questions for me before I go? I don't think I'll be able to answer every single one, but if there are any that really stand out, I will answer them now while I've got you guys open. And to all of you who are still here, thank you so much. You guys are the best. I love you all so much. Okay, anybody have any questions? Would I please close you guys in prayer? Absolutely, but can you please remind me at the end? I'll try to remember. I sent you an email on New Year's. Do you check your email? I do. I have a couple different emails. You guys, there have been so many emails. I'm so grateful to read all the communication, but if I'm being really honest, I think I need to at some point get like a VA because there has been this huge influx of all of this love, and I'm only one person and I'm a busy mama, so I haven't been able to get to everybody. If I don't get to your email and you're just sharing your love, please know that I likely have read it, or if I haven't read it, I will read it. And I'm just sending all of that love back to you, but I might not be able to respond to everybody because they're like, it's getting getting big. Do I think tarot is negative? No, I absolutely don't think tarot is negative. I think there's a lot of negative connotations with tarot. Tarot is actually something that I've done myself. I still occasionally do. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. It is something that has helped me actually connect deeper with my gifts and my own intuition. It's not evil. It's something that a lot of people are afraid of because of the negative connotations. And I can understand why. I think, a lot of people in the past have used things like tarot, like other spiritual tools, in a sense that has been harmful for people where they haven't been honest. But no, they're not bad. They're just another way to communicate with spirit. And so, yeah. Let's see. When and how do I do personal readings? Are they available? Yes, they are available. I will try to figure out if I can put the link down in the comments after this video is done. But in case I can't figure that out, I'm hoping I can get the replay for this. But in case I can't, you can always find all the links in my actual channel page. You can also find them on TikTok, and you can also find them through my website, kianaggabriel.com. They are $333 US, and they are 1 hour long, and you can ask up to 4 different questions, and I tap in, and I bring down all kinds of really amazing information. Usually it's even more than what we think or expect. There's more than what they answer generally for the questions. And so yeah, it's just the best. And you can do that by clicking the link in my bio, or I will try to put it in the comments, and you just select your date. Please note that there has been an influx in that, which is amazing. Come on over if you guys are ready to take that next leap of faith, that next open that next door. But I take on a very select few. I'm taking on 5 a month right now. I have some last availability in January and some availability in February. And we'll be opening up the books for March in the next little while too. But you don't have to be there personally. So if this is a reason why somebody might not be booking, is because maybe you're like, oh, that sounds scary. I get it. Being in person can feel a little frightening, but you don't actually have to be there. It's delivered to you within 5 business days of you booking the date, just so that there's time for that energy for us to really develop, so that I can really feel into you strongly, and so that it gives us that time for the reading to come through with the utmost clarity. Somebody just donated miles to go. Thank you so much, Miles. May that be returned to you tenfold. Thank you so much, guys, for just liking the video and commenting and all of the love. That's the best. I'm so appreciative. But yeah, that's how you do it. Just click the link. You can book your date. The time doesn't matter. Any time that you want to pick doesn't matter, because it will be delivered within 5 business days of the official booking date that you have. Yeah. How did I develop my gifts? Well, this is a good question. My gifts have always been there, but I think I developed them with just having more trust that they were real. I think that's the biggest thing for me. One of the other ways that I really started developing my gifts, as we had mentioned earlier on in the reading, is I started doing past life regression. The second past life regression that I experienced, one of my goals was to see if I had any spiritual gifts and any lifetimes that I had lived through where I got to see what those gifts were. And something about that, when I did past life regression, I do really recommend hypnotherapy, guys. There's so many different types of healing that I've done. Hypnotherapy, Reiki, QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique. I'm actually doing one tomorrow. So excited. And just, yeah, a bunch of different things like that. When I did do that past life regression and I was taken back to that lifetime, it really opened up, I think, just even the understanding and the possibility that I was much more gifted than I thought, and the leadership skills and who I was, the significance of who I was in that lifetime. It really just helped me trust that I had these gifts. I even realized later that I was already using them, but I didn't realize the correlation until after. The ability to see, to be a seer, all these kinds of things. I recognized I've done them before, but it really just had to come down to allowing myself to trust and to stop blocking myself from fear. I was definitely blocking my gifts in that lifetime earlier on when I was younger, and in this lifetime again, just from fear and like a lack of trusting in myself. And so for me, the biggest thing was like learning to trust what I was hearing and creating more space around myself to hear, as well as like regulating my nervous system was so key to being able to have more space to receive the communication and the information. Let's see. Are there any hypnotherapists you recommend for past life regression or other? Not personally. It really depends on where you live. A book that I would recommend, though, to kind of help get you started and learn a little bit more about it, is a book by Brian West. So I would love to meet Brian West one day. That would be the coolest thing. He was like the first author and hypnotist that I had read about after I had one of my first experiences with the hypnotherapist. Um, and his book, Many Lives, Many Masters, chef's kiss, incredible. Like it really opened my mind up to so much. And so highly recommend him. I don't know if he does like I don't think he does personal ones, but I think sometimes he does conferences where he does like group hypnotherapy sessions. I also know if you're really like interested in going deep into the subconscious and having like a life altering changing experience, QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, that's what I'm actually going to be doing tomorrow. I'm so excited about it. I've had like one before and it was just amazing, mind blowing. But if you wanted to look into that, it's a technique that was created by a woman named Dolores Cannon. I know that if you look up QHHT, I think, and say like Dolores Cannon, you can find practitioners level 1, level 2, level 3 in your country, in your region, and you can read a little bit about them and the reviews and see who might be a good fit for you. Carrie said, I've read that book. It's great. Yeah. Let's see. How to stop spiritual warfare. Let's see. Well, I think one of the ways to stop it is, first of all, to understand that you are a very sovereign being, that you have the power. And if you're believing in some of these negative things, you're allowing these negative experiences to happen to you. So don't give your power away. Take your power back. Be firm in your boundaries. Say no. Like if you're feeling negative energies or entities, you can just simply say you're not welcome here. Pray, connect with God. Other than that, if it's like spiritual warfare when it comes to like people projecting or sending negativity to you, I've heard some people do cord cutting. I haven't personally done that. I don't know about that, but I've heard some people do that and that can be helpful. But for me, I just make sure that I'm just really staying in my own sovereignty, my own authority. I don't entertain or welcome or allow any of those kinds of negative energies. I just think, send back to the sender and move along my day. If you're giving your time of day and you're allowing yourself to feel fear of these things, and you're allowing it to attach and to absorb into your system. So have those strict, firm boundaries. Tell whatever that negative energy is that it's not welcome, and move on with your life, move on with your day. Yeah. Did I self-publish my book, or did I have it published the traditional way? Yes, I did self-publish my book from start to finish. Thank you so much, Remanent. Tenfold to you. Yes, I self-published my book from start to finish. The only thing I got help with was the cover from a cover artist, as well as an editor, just to help go through everything. But everything else was completely done by me myself. It was a very tedious process. I've always known that I was going to be an author since I was a little girl. I just never thought it would be in this genre. I thought maybe it would be in fantasy because I used to escape a lot into books. But turns out it's in self-help and healing and spirituality and wholeness. But I was guided actually to privately self-publish and not to go the traditional route. I don't think there's any right or wrong way, but I was told that it's really important for me personally to keep all of the rights creatively to my book. After doing a little bit of research too, I found out that when it comes to the traditional publishing world, often you need to have like a really big social media following for them to even consider you. And at the time when I published my book, my guys were saying this needs to come out right now. Like the world needs it now. And I didn't want to wait 2 to 5+ years to have somebody sign me on. I wanted to make sure that the book got out there when it was time. That's not to say that if a really big publisher came in and wouldn't try to take my creative rights and allowed me to still continue with the process that I'm doing, that I wouldn't consider that. But at least for now, like, I was very much guided to keep complete rights to it, because I have heard that some traditional publishing houses can take complete control of your book, can change and edit. And I just really wanted to make sure, after a previous experience that I had where I have written another book with like a bunch of other authors, that's a whole other story. But I did write a book with like 20 other authors, and I did one chapter, and the experience that I had with that, unfortunately, just was very disappointing. And I learned a lot from it. And so I learned that that was not the way that I wanted to go about it. That was, I think, like a vanity publisher, I think is what it's called. So yeah, I just, with all of those things, all of that experience, as well as what I was hearing, as well as I was hearing the time is now, and not to delay and not to wait and not to have somebody outside of me tell me that my book was good enough when, I decided to be like, you know what, I'm going to publish it. I'm going to put in the work, and I'm going to get it out there. And lo and behold, here we are. So I listened, even though I was like, I didn't know if it was all going to work out, but I trusted that it would. I was shown the vision. I was shown what would happen. And so, yeah, very much a believer in listening to whatever God tells you. Is your book available on Amazon? Yes, it is available on Amazon, amazon.com, amazon.ca. Amazon is great, but it does take a higher amount of the proceeds. So I always encourage, if you guys are interested, Amazon is awesome if you want to go that route, but you can also purchase the book through my personal link, books.by Kiana G. Gabriel. Speaking of the book, I wanted to show you guys. I actually have it here on my side in case anybody hasn't seen it before. These are limited editions. They are not on my website. The only way to get these is through me personally. So if anybody is ever interested, you can go ahead and email me on my website, kianaggabriel.com. You guys would just pay the cost of the actual book itself. This hardcover one is $44.44 US. And they will have hand-signed little messages in there for you guys. They are limited. I think I've got like 20 of these left. But eventually I do plan to have them in stores as well, but it's going to be a little while before that happens. Yeah. How do I recommend to find an editor for self-publishing? I went on, what was it called? Readsy. And that's what I looked for. And I looked for people who were into like similar types of genres and had good reviews. Thank you. Yeah, I'll show you guys again. Isn't it pretty? It's like my favorite colors. And you know what's cool? I'll show you guys. There's a picture of me in there. It's so neat. And it has a little extra tidbit in here. Should I read it to you guys? Do you guys want to hear like a little bit of this little tidbit? Because it's not in anywhere else. Like none of the other books have it. Let me know if you guys want that, and I'll read it to you if you're interested. Yes? Okay. All right. Says, so this is a little intro into what the book is about. Says, what if everything you've been searching for was never missing, just buried beneath who the world told you to be? This is fun, guys. Says, in the missing piece is you. Kiana leads you on a soul-deep journey back to yourself. With raw honesty, spiritual wisdom, and channeled guidance, she helps you remember what the world made you forget. You were never broken, you were never lost, and you were always whole. This isn't just a book, it's a mirror for your truth, a soft landing for your healing, and a lighthouse for the parts of you still finding their way home. Kiana weaves personal stories, divine downloads, and heart-led insights into an awakening experience that invites you back to your light. Whether you're in the thick of your healing, just beginning your journey, or searching for confirmation that you're not alone, this book is your companion, a sacred reminder that the missing piece you've been trying to find has always been you. Yeah. And just so you guys know, this is the top like limited collector's edition. It's the most expensive. I do also have paperback copies. Those are $33.33. And I also have an ebook. If you go on Amazon, I think if you guys even have like a Kindle or something, you can get it for free, which is awesome. And if you don't have a Kindle, I think it's like $10 or something like that for the ebook. Eventually, I plan to have an audiobook version. I just haven't had the time. I want to record it myself because I know my voice in and of itself is a transmission. So yeah. Okay, I've got like space for like 1 or 2 more questions if there's anything else that anybody would like to know regarding like spirituality or something somebody might be struggling with. If there's anybody who's like, I've been waiting and I really have a question, like now is the time. So let's hear. If anybody has any last questions. Closing prayer. Thank you for reminding me. Any last questions? We'll take one more and then we'll do a closing prayer. Money is confusing me. What do I charge for money? Great question. Of course, it's going to really depend on your niche. I think this is a good question when it comes to like spiritual offerings, especially if it's in the spiritual kind of community. What I've been told is to pray, to go within, and to ask God what God feels like is the right number for me. I know those are big numbers. They were something, to be honest, I was afraid of charging because I haven't seen that price, but I was told that the value of what is in the book is so important that that is the correct number. So I ask God, I ask Spirit. Spirit is the one who's instructing all of these things. Other than that, I think it's important to remember that there is a spiritual belief that spiritual people who are teaching things, it's humble to undercharge. My love, it's not. I'm hearing your gifts and what you offer this world is so important. You could save somebody decades, lifetimes of pain. So if you have something that you know could really help somebody, it's nice to create like different tiers. This is something I've done, right? So like my book, for example, one day it will be in libraries. So for people who can't afford it, they can have it for free. But then also it's like dependent on how much of a nice edition do they want? Do they want the ebook? Do they want the paper book? Do they want the hardcover? Do they want the audio? So it's like it's creating so many different options and opportunities. So I try to make sure that I'm still allowing myself to be paid the amount that I know I've put into it, especially if you've put a lot of yourself into the things that you're creating. Um, but I think you want to make sure that it's worth your time. You want to make sure that you're respecting yourself and your own gifts and your own energy. And then just take it back to God. That's what I would say. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any last questions? Let's see. Okay, last question. I'm seeing 7-7 since last year. What does it mean? It means you're on a spiritual awakening journey, my love. 777 talks about spirituality, spiritual awakenings, spiritual journeys, and that you are in alignment. Okay, we are going to close out. Thank you. I think it was to Heather who had recommended the prayer. Okay. Let me think about this for a second. Oh, look at that. 144 likes. Oh, damn. Amazing. That's like 144,000. The frequency of love. Okay. I love you guys. Let's do a prayer. Let me think about it. Okay. Ooh, this is like, makes me a little nervous being live with you guys here doing a prayer, but let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Okay. So, dear God, I would like to just pray for every single beautiful soul who has joined us here today, and every soul connected to each beautiful soul who's joined us here today, whether they were here for a second, whether they're still here, whether they've left, wherever they are on their paths. Lord, I pray that you fill them with all of your love, with all of your protection. I pray that you let them know who you are. You help them have a true relationship with you. You bring them inner peace, inner fulfillment. Lord, I pray that you bring through just a deeper connection with themselves. I know that you've taught me that connection to ourselves is the answer to everything, because when we love one another and when we love ourselves, we can love one another, and that ends all war. Lord, I pray that you just give them your eyes to see, that you fill them with your heart, and that they learn to be able and to be open to listen to your instruction, and that you lead them with love, with grace, with patience, and with gentleness. And Lord, I pray for protection for each and every one of these beautiful souls that you have brought with me here. I know that you have brought each of these people with us today because they play a very pivotal role in this new earth that we are walking into. So Lord, I pray that you really fulfill each of their spirits with the Holy Spirit, with your courage, with their strength, so that they can go forward into the life that you truly created them for. Lord, we're so grateful for absolutely everything that you have blessed us with. Thank you for giving me this platform to speak to every single beautiful soul here, and for putting in me the courage to show up today and to share. And thank you so much for all of the communication every day that you have brought to me. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to show them how I pray. And for, I think it was Heather who asked to do a closing prayer. Please send her a little sprinkle of extra love and joy there too. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. Goodbye, divine, beautiful humans. I love you so much. May you be blessed. Until next time. Goodbye. Thank you for joining me. Now I have to figure out how to close this live. Amen. I love you. Many blessings. Until next time. Bye, everyone.